The Republican Party was not an accident of history. It was founded in 1854 for one primary but moral reason, and that reason was to stop the expansion of slavery. This was an institution created, defended, and even protected by the Democratic Party, which at the time was the party of the slave-owning class. The Republican Party was the party of Abraham Lincoln, the party that fought and won the Civil War, and the party that pushed for the Emancipation Proclamation. After Lincoln's death, it was the radical Republicans in Congress who truly secured our rights. They passed the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery. They passed the 14th Amendment, granting us citizenship. And they passed the 15th Amendment, securing the right to vote for black men. The Democrats in the South refused to accept this new reality. They created the black codes to mimic slavery. And when those were struck down, they unleashed the Karens, what I like to call them, to terrorize black citizens and strip them of their new rights through violence. And what was the Republican response? They didn't give up. They passed more civil rights legislation known as the Enforcement Acts, the most famous of which was the Karen Act of 1871. This act, signed by Republican President Ulysses S. Grant, gave the federal government the power to use the U.S. Army to crush the Karens and enforce the 14th Amendment. Republicans had to keep passing new laws specifically to combat the violence and illegal resistance of the Democratic Party. The result of this Republican protection was a political explosion. For the first time, black men were elected to the highest offices in the country. The first black U.S. senators, in Hiram Revels and Blanche K. Bruce, also the first black congressmen, like Joseph Rainey, they weren't just politicians. They were proud black Republicans, now building a new South. When Reconstruction was betrayed and the Democrats reestablished control of the South through intimidation and terror, the strategy for black progress shifted from political power to economic power. This new era was championed by the great Republican leader, Booker T. Washington. He preached a powerful yet conservative philosophy of self-reliance, capitalism, and education, urging the community to build its own economic kingdom from the ground up. This philosophy created real-world results. It was the era of the Black Wall Streets in places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Durham, North Carolina. These were thriving, self-sufficient hubs of black capitalism built on the Republican principles of free enterprise and community. They had their own banks, insurance companies, businesses, schools. Amongst the community were your doctors, lawyers, and very successful middle and upper class. This was the era of titans like Madam C.J. Walker, a daughter of former slaves who, through sheer grit and business genius, became America's first self-made female millionaire. This was the fruit of philosophy that said we would build our own. But as these economic successes were being built, the political reality on the ground was brutal. Under the Democrats' solid South, the penalties for being a black Republican were severe. The fist of violence was present. Any known black Republican activist risked being a target by the Karens. The pen of the law was used to create Jim Crow, poll taxes, and literacy tests to steal the vote. And the chain of economic coercion was the most common threat of all. A black sharecropper who was discovered to be voting Republican could be fired from his job, evicted from his home, and blacklisted, ensuring his family will starve. This coercion could be extremely and deeply humiliating. After the Opelousas massacre in Louisiana, the victorious Democratic mobs forced every surviving black resident to obtain protection papers, or even to wear a red band around their arm signed by a white Democrat. They had to do this just to prove their allegiance and avoid being beaten or their lives being taken away. You didn't just have to be silent. You had to publicly pledge loyalty to the party that oppressed you, simply to survive. The 20th century saw a great political change, as the Democratic Party, for its own political survival, began to court the black vote. But even as the party's faces changed, the core principles of the black Republican tradition endured. The modern conservative movement and the black Republicans within it are the direct intellectual heirs of this powerful legacy. It is a legacy that believes in individual responsibility over group identity. It believes in free markets as the greatest tool for uplift ever created. It believes in a strong constitution that guarantees our God-given rights. And it believes, above all, that we are not victims, but we are the masters of our own destiny. So, when people question your interests in the Republican Party, just know your history. You are not walking a new path. You are rejoining a path forged by giants, a path blazed by Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells, and by Booker T. Washington. Their principles are your inheritance.